Welcome to the Deep Dive.
Great to be here.
Today, we're jumping right into, well, a pretty significant legal fight brewing in the AI world.
We're talking Elon Musk versus OpenAI, right?
Yeah.
The creators of Chatgpt.
Exactly. And our mission here, our deep dive today, is really to cut through some of that legal speak.
Yeah, try and understand what Musk is actually accusing OpenAI of doing, what the latest court ruling means.
And what it tells us about AI's future, kind of. We're drawing heavily on a new report that breaks down this ruling.
Right, a report from My Broadband, which really details the judge's recent decisions in this whole thing.
And the core issue seems to be Musk saying, OpenAI, well, it's strayed from its original nonprofit mission.
Becoming too focused on profit, especially, through that massive partnership with Microsoft.
Okay, so let's get into the ruling itself. What did the judge actually decide? Where are we now?
Well, it's definitely shifted the landscape a bit. Crucially, the judge is allowing Musk's fraud claim to proceed.
The fraud claim. Okay,
Yeah.
So what does that mean in simple terms?
It basically means the court thinks there's potentially enough there to suggest OpenAI might have made promises about how it would operate.
Promises about being nonprofit, maybe. Or its structure.
Something like that, yeah. Promises about its fundamental structure and then allegedly didn't stick to them.
It's more than just Musk being unhappy with the direction.
It's about a specific alleged broken promise.
Got it. And there was another claim allowed too, right? Something about unjust enrichment.
Yes, exactly. That claim against both OpenAI and Microsoft is also moving forward.
Okay, unjust enrichment. So the idea is they unfairly benefited.
That's the core of it. The court seems to think it's plausible that OpenAI and Microsoft might have benefited unfairly from Musk's early contributions.
His money, his ideas.
His vision, yeah. All while maybe not upholding the principles he thought they'd agreed on. It really touches on a tricky point in tech philanthropy, Well, how do you value those early inputs when something starts nonprofit, but then potentially becomes this huge commercial success? How do you protect that original investment or vision?
Makes sense. But it wasn't all wins for Musk, right? Some claims were dismissed.
No, definitely not. The judge threw out the claims of false advertising and breach of fiduciary duty.
Okay. False advertising, like misleading the public about their mission.
Probably something along those lines, yeah.
Yeah.
That they weren't being straight about their commitment to the original nonprofit goal.
And breach of fiduciary duty. That sounds serious, like violating trust.
Exactly, a duty of trust. If that had gone forward, it could have set a huge precedent for, founder responsibilities in these mission-driven tech companies.
But the judge didn't see enough evidence for those, at least not at this stage.
Right, dismissed.
And there's this racketeering claim. That sounds pretty intense. It was dismissed too, but with a twist.
Yeah, a bit of nuance there. Initially dismissed, yes. But the judge basically said Musk can have another go. He can revise that part of his complaint and try again.
Okay, racketeering. For most of us, what does that even mean in this context? It sounds like mafia stuff.
Well, basically it refers to patterns of organized criminal activity. It's a high bar to clear legally.
So the fact that he can refile, does that mean the judge sees something there?
It suggests there might be elements in Musk's story that could potentially fit the definition if they're argued or framed differently. His first attempt just didn't quite make the cut legally.
Interesting. So that one's not completely dead yet.
Not necessarily, no. Depends on how he revises it.
Okay, let's shift focus a bit to Microsoft. They're obviously a huge player here, the main investor. They were also targets.
Absolutely. They face claims, too. We know the unjust enrichment one is still on the table for them, like with OpenAI.
Right, but didn't they get one claim dismissed that OpenAI didn't? Something about aiding the fraud?
Correct. The claim that Microsoft directly aided OpenAI's alleged initial fraud that was dismissed.
So the judge is drawing a line there.
Seems like it. A line between, say, directly helping set up the alleged initial broken promise versus potentially benefiting from the situation down the road.
So Microsoft isn't on the hook for maybe helping start the alleged fraud?
According to this ruling, no. But they still have to face that unjust enrichment argument do they unfairly gain later.
Okay. And there was another claim against Microsoft that is moving forward, right? About interfering with a contract.
Yes, that's a fascinating part. The claim that Microsoft interfered with the contract, presumably the original agreement or understanding between Musk and OpenAI, that's still active.
And the report mentioned the judge's reasoning. She said Musk plausibly alleged that Microsoft knew of the charitable trust.
And took steps constituting substantial assistance or encouragement in the violation of it, yeah.
That sounds pretty significant. It suggests Microsoft might have known about the original nonprofit setup and maybe helped change it.
Precisely. The judge thinks there's enough smoke there to investigate further. Did Microsoft know about the original goals and actively help OpenAI move away from them?
Wow. That could have big implications for these kinds of tech partnerships.
Definitely. How much does the investor know and what's their responsibility?
Now, OpenAI's perspective, how are they responding to all this? The report mentions something about a social media post.
Yeah, OpenAI's defense basically is that this whole lawsuit is just Musk trying to hurt a competitor.
The competition angle.
Right. They're pointing out that Musk launched his own AI company, XAI, last year. And they're framing this lawsuit as a tactic to slow OpenAI down and help XAI.
So, he's not principled, he's just competing. That kind of argument.
Pretty much. It's a standard defense in these high-stakes fights.
But Musk's side sees it differently, of course. His lawyer put out a statement, right? Welcoming the ruling.
Yes, emphasizing that the ruling allows these serious allegations to move towards trial. And they doubled down on Musk's commitment to OpenAI's original charitable mission.
Protecting AI safety, public benefit, that's their narrative.
Exactly. So you have these two very different frames. Is it about ethical principles and AI safety, or is it about market competition?
And this whole legal drama isn't happening in a vacuum. OpenAI is apparently talking about restructuring.
That's right. There were reports they're in discussions, maybe changing their corporate structure, talking to officials in Delaware and California.
And there's some kind of deadline. End of 2025?
Seems so. And it ties into potential major investments, like from SoftBank. The report mentioned their investment could drop significantly, like from $30 billion down to $20 billion if this restructuring isn't done by then.
So this lawsuit adds a layer of uncertainty onto an already complex financial and structural situation for them.
Absolutely. It complicates their planning and their future path.
Okay, let's just quickly rewind. The history matters here. Musk co-founded OpenAI, about a decade ago?
Roughly, yeah. But he left the board back in 2018.
And the major shift, the big Microsoft deal, the more commercial focus that happened after he left?
Mostly, yes. And that timeline is really key to his argument. He's essentially saying, the thing I helped start has fundamentally changed into something that violates the original agreement, the original vision.
So it's not just a strategic disagreement, it's an accusation of breaking the foundational promises.
That's the heart of his claim, yeah.
And part of his concern, mentioned in the report, is about competition, right? That the OpenAI Microsoft powerhouse could just dominate the AI market.
He's worried it stifles the free market in generative AI, creates an uneven playing field.
Which raises a broader question, separate from the legal claims even. What are the risks if AI development gets concentrated in just a few massive companies?
Well, you worry about things like less innovation overall, maybe higher costs for users, and definitely a lack of different viewpoints shaping this incredibly powerful technology.
Yeah, AI being built primarily to serve the interests of just a couple of giants, maybe not the public good.
That's the fear.
The report also mentioned a pretty direct accusation, a scheme to defraud Musk involving Sam Altman and Greg Brockman.
Yes, that language is in there. Alleging they schemed to use Musk's contributions to enrich themselves.
Now, the specific claim that Microsoft aided that alleged fraud was dismissed.
Right.
But the core accusation against Altman and Brockman seems tied into that main fraud claim against OpenAI that is proceeding.
It suggests that, yeah. It has a very personal layer to the whole dispute. It's not just about corporate structure, it's about alleged personal betrayal and enrichment.
So just to recap the Microsoft contract interference point that's going forward, because the judge felt it was plausible Microsoft knew about the original charitable setup and helped violate it.
Plausibly alleged, yes. Enough to survive dismissal at this stage.
And for anyone wanting to track the case, it's Musk v. Altman, 24 CVV 04722, Northern District of California, Oakland Division.
Got it. So wrapping things up, the big takeaways are: Musk's fraud claim, still alive. Unjust enrichment against OpenAI and Microsoft, also alive.
But false advertising, fiduciary duty, dismissed. Racketeering, dismissed for now, but maybe revisable.
Exactly. And it all circles back to that fundamental question. Did OpenAI betray its original non-profit mission in its pursuit of profit, especially with Microsoft?
Yeah, and for you listening, this isn't just legal wrangling. It's a window into the massive ethical questions and conflicts popping up as AI gets more powerful and more valuable.
Makes you think about what happens when these idealistic founding principles meet. well, billions of dollars in market pressures.
What responsibilities do founders, investors, leaders have as these things grow?
And here's a final thought to chew on. If the original mission and structure of these pioneering AI groups can be challenged or changed so drastically as they scale up, what does that mean for how AI gets developed going forward?
Can those founding visions actually hold? Or is change inevitable? And whose responsibility is it to try and keep that original spirit alive, if anyone's?
Definitely food for thought.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for diving deep with us on this one.
My pleasure. It's a fascinating case to watch.